Have you ever held on to a moment, replaying it over and over, hoping to change what you know is unchangeable? Did it ever happen to you that a single phone call turned your world upside down, leaving you grasping for the remnants of a life you once knew? What would you do if the one person who understood you most suddenly vanished, leaving only echoes of laughter and a silence that never fades? No, there's a photo on my desk, not quite forgotten, but buried under the weight of dust and time. It was taken on a summer day when everything seemed possible. My brother James stood there grinning, oblivious to the shadow that would eventually fall over us both. Back then, I had a family that felt whole, a career on the rise, and friendships that blurred the lines of loneliness. But all it takes is one moment to fracture the world you thought was so solid. No, I was supposed to be strong. As the eldest, it was my duty to hold things together. Instead, I buried my grief, believing that if I didn't acknowledge it, maybe it wouldn't consume me. But grief is relentless. Ignoring it only gave it room to fester, transforming everything I knew into a stranger I couldn't recognize. My brother's sudden death was the event I never prepared for, leaving me isolated with walls too high for anyone to climb. No. Since then, I've grappled with questions that have no answers, drawing lines between the life I thought I'd have and the reality I now face. Can you ever truly heal from such a profound loss? What happens when you're left alone to pick up the pieces of a shattered life? As I sit here, fingers lightly brushing over James's photo, the emptiness in my eyes reflects a journey I never asked to take. Yet here I am, hoping to find a way back to living, not merely existing. It happened on an ordinary afternoon, that thin line between dusk and darkness, where time seems to pause. The scent of rain hung in the air, clinging to the edges of my senses like a whisper of what was to come. I can still feel the cold raindrops sliding down my skin as I stood there, frozen, watching the world crumble around me. The call had been brief. The voice on the other end clinical and detached, as if they were delivering a weather report rather than unraveling my universe. My younger brother, vibrant and full of life, had been snatched away by a fate too cruel to comprehend. Null. The impact was a physical blow, a visceral shock that reverberated through my bones, leaving me breathless and hollow. The world around me blurred into a muted cacophony, a swirl of distorted faces and muffled cries that echoed in the cavern of my mind. I remember the feeling of the earth shifting beneath me, a betrayal of the familiar that shattered the illusion of safety I had wrapped around myself. I felt my heart constrict, a vice-like grip of despair tightening with every heartbeat. Each moment was an eternity, every breath a struggle against the weight of a reality I refused to accept. Null, emotionally, I was adrift, caught in a tempest of grief and disbelief. I wandered through the days like a ghost, my footsteps soundless, my presence invisible to a world that continued its relentless march forward. There was a dissonance between my internal world, a turbulent sea of pain, and the indifferent normality that surrounded me. I found myself retreating into silence, a cocoon of isolation that promised safety but delivered only deeper loneliness. Null, psychologically. The loss fractured something elemental within me. The guilt was relentless, an insidious whisper that taunted me with questions I could never answer. What if I had been there? What if I could have saved him? These thoughts became a mantra of self-reproach, chipping away at the foundation of who I once was. The scandal that followed twisted the knife further, tarnishing his memory and leaving me to grapple with a betrayal that felt like a second loss null. In those moments, I realized the fragility of our existence, the precarious balance between light and shadow. Each passing day was a reminder of what I'd lost, a reminder that healing might never come. But amidst the darkness, one truth resounded. I was irrevocably changed, and there was no turning back. No. Each day feels like walking through a dense fog, a monotonous blur where time loses meaning. I wake up exhausted, barely able to muster the energy to face another colorless day. The world outside moves on, vibrant and alive. Yet here I am, trapped in my own muted existence. Guilt festers like an open wound. What if I had called him that night? What if I'd sensed the shadow creeping upon him? Questions like these cycle relentlessly, a carousel of what-ifs that haunt my every waking moment. Null. My brother's scandal echoes in my mind, as vivid as flashbacks in an old film reel, playing out nightmares crafted by my worst fears. I see his face, once pure and innocent, now tainted by rumors and accusations. It's as if he's been torn from me again, piece by piece, and I can't stop it. Memories of him ripple through my mind, his laughter, his warmth, and then nothing but the cold aftermath. Null. Friendships dissolve like sugar in water, leaving a lukewarm residue of loneliness. When I reach out, their silence is a reminder that I'm too much, that my sorrow is a burden they can't bear. It's like standing in a crowded room screaming silently, yet no one turns my way. Writing to him, filling pages with words he will never read, is my only solace. It's a ritual of desperation, a futile attempt to bridge the chasm left in his absence. Null. The physical toll wears me down, my body a shell that barely functions. Sleep eludes me, my thoughts a cacophony of anxiety and despair. Food tastes like ash, a reminder of the joy that slipped through my fingers. I pace my apartment, a ghost in a place that once felt like home. Each shadow a whisper of happier days. Null. One night, the edge of the bridge calls to me, a siren song promising escape. I stand there, the world below blurring, contemplating the finality of that leap. Yet, even as despair pulls me closer, an inkling of self-preservation holds me back. I step away, trembling, knowing that this is not the end, but a beginning I can't yet comprehend. Null. How did I become so lost, so disjointed from the person I once was? It feels as if my spirit has been fractured, pieces scattered across the remnants of my life. Helplessness sits heavy on my shoulders, a mantle I can't shrug off, but somewhere deep inside flickers the hope that maybe, just maybe, the fragments can be gathered and a semblance of wholeness restored. No, the night was a tapestry of shadows, a canvas on which my fears painted their darkest hues. I found myself once more standing at the edge of that bridge, the abyss below whispering promises of solitude. But something, perhaps the ghostly outlines of my brother's smile or the faint echo of laughter from my past, held me back from surrender. In that suspended moment, the finality of my despair crystallized into a fleeting clarity. I stepped back, breathless, as if surfacing from suffocation. No, the bridge became the threshold of my collapse, the point from which I would either fall or rebuild. I chose tentatively the latter. Joining the support group was like entering a sanctuary of shared sorrow, an assembly of souls stitched together by loss. I listened, silent, to the mosaic of grief woven by others. Each story was a mirror, reflecting fragments of my own. Yet words clung to the walls of my throat, a testament to the fortress I built around my pain. No. Then came James, his voice a gentle current pulling at my resolve. His tale of loss, akin to mine, unraveled the tight cords around my heart. In his eyes, I glimpsed an understanding that transcended language. Our friendship, fragile as the first thaw of spring, urged me towards expression. But my silence persisted like an obstinate winter dot, null, null yet. In the quiet exchanges and hesitant smiles, I found the courage to confront the specter of my grief. Our conversations became a balm, soothing the wounds I'd long hidden. Slowly, the landscape of my mourning began to shift. With James beside me, I dared to explore the contours of my sorrow, to see not just the absence, but the indelible presence of my brother in my life. Dot, null, null healing, I learned, is not an erasure of pain, but an acceptance of its permanence, a dance with shadows that must learn to coexist with light. I started to sense the flicker of hope, like the sun peeking through storm clouds, revealing the possibility of life beyond the hollow. James was my tether, guiding me gently towards the dawn, and I began to understand that the labyrinth of loss could lead, eventually, to an emergence, not from grief, but with it, emboldened and new. Null. The room is filled with echoes of silence, a silence I've grown to inhabit like a second skin. I sit in the group, words clawing their way from my chest, as if my brother sits beside me, urging me to speak. My voice, once a stranger, spills into the room, and with it, a torrent of emotions that were locked away. It's not easy, these confessions, exposing the raw wounds I've carried like shadows, but somewhere between the tears and the trembling, I find a flicker of release, a moment where grief doesn't feel like a shackle, but a testament to the love that was. No. Living with pain isn't about defeating it, it's about letting it weave into the tapestry of who I am. I'm learning that the scars don't diminish me. They etch resilience into my being. Reaching out to my mother is an awkward waltz, our words stumbling like dancers unsure of the steps. Yet, with each attempt, we build bridges over the chasm loss had carved. Shael, my brother's memory is a compass now, guiding me through this fractured landscape. I will not let sorrow eclipse the vivid colors of our shared past. As sunlight spills over his photograph on my windowsill, I see not just the shadows, but the warmth that remains, the promise of new beginnings amidst the remnants of old pain. In this shared journey, perhaps none of us are truly alone. In the quiet solitude of her room, Emily finds herself lingering in the embrace of stillness, where the shadows no longer intimidate but offer a kind of comfort she never anticipated. Gently, she places the weathered photograph of her brother on the windowsill, letting the dawn's gentle light infuse it with a warmth that feels almost like a whispered promise. It is here, amidst the silent witnesses of her journey, that Emily finds a sliver of peace. The years of grief and isolation unfurl in her mind like a delicate parchment, marked by the indelible ink of loss and memories too precious to let slip into oblivion. What was once an all-consuming darkness now reveals itself as a canvas of nuanced shades, illustrating the resilience required to navigate the chasm left by her brother's absence. Null, in this soft, introspective moment, Emily understands that healing is not the erasure of scars, but a compassionate acceptance of their existence. The gentle swell of sorrow will always be a part of her, a quiet companion that no longer threatens to devour her. Instead, it accompanies her as a reminder of the depths of love and the beauty of shared stories, no matter how brief. Null. With each passing day, Emily welcomes the mingling of joy and pain. She realizes that to honor her brother's memory is to embrace the duality of life, to walk with both laughter and tears. Her brother lives in the spaces between, in the sunlit corners of her heart that no shadow can eclipse. No, and thus, Emily stands at the precipice of a new chapter, her heart neither burdened nor unburdened, but simply whole. She has found not a conclusion but a gentle continuation, the promise of a sunrise after the longest night. No. Have you ever been through something you've never told anyone about? Something that still lives in your chest? No. If you feel like sharing it, we're here. Drop your story in the comments, even just a part of it. Every week, we turn one of your stories into a cinematic video just like this one. No, this is a safe space. Your voice matters. You're not alone.